Chapter 7. Lee Harvey Oswald, Background and Possible Motives. The evidence reviewed above identifies Lee Harvey Oswald as the assassin of President Kennedy and indicates that he acted alone in that event. There is no evidence that he had accomplices or that he was involved in any conspiracy directed to the assassination of the president. There remains the question of what impelled Oswald to conceive and to carry out the assassination of the President of the United States. The Commission has considered many possible motives for the assassination, including those which might flow from Oswald's commitment to Marxism or communism, the existence of some personal grievance, a desire to effect changes in the structure of society, or simply to go down in history as a well-publicized assassin. None of these possibilities satisfactorily explains Oswald's act if it is judged by the standards of reasonable men. The motives of any man, however, must be analyzed in terms of the character and state of mind of the particular individual involved. For a motive that appears incomprehensible to other men may be the moving force of a man whose view of the world has been twisted, possibly by factors of which those around him were only dimly aware. I would like to briefly comment on that last sentence, as that is one of the steps that allowed Lee Harvey Oswald to be in the sixth-floor window at 12:30 p.m. on November 22nd, 1963, with a rifle. And I'll just stick with this little slice of the assassination and leave it at that. As we know in life, one thing leads to another, and I could go on, but I just want to focus on this one little aspect of the assassination. The first step was getting the job there, and I talked about this about 4 posts back, and I'll repeat it again. Some Dallas housewives were getting together for coffee, and Marina Oswald was one of them, and she said Lee was having trouble finding work, and one of the housewives said, "My brother just got a job at the Texas School Book Depository. Maybe they still need some people. Check it out." Of course, we all know that they did, and Lee ended up working there. All innocent. Just housewives sitting around having coffee, talking about everyday matters. The second step is related to what the Warren Commission said there in that last sentence. I'm recording this in June of 2026, and it seems like hardly a month goes by in this good old US of A when someone doesn't go out into the public with a gun and shoot innocent people. This has been going on since Columbine in 1999. And the reason this can happen is, I'm not an expert on every single shooting, but I have a feeling most of these people have no criminal record behind them. They have no violent behavior behind them, and they are legally permitted to buy a gun. And the other thing is, as the Warren Commission said, the people around them have no idea what's going on in their heads. These people do not drop out of the sky. They have friends, they have family, they have co-workers. But we cannot know really what goes on in another person's head. It recalls to me that old Twilight Zone episode from 1959. I think it's with Anne Francis as the star. I forget the name of the episode. But at the end, when Rod Serling is narrating, the camera's going down a city street and people are walking past, and Rod Serling narrates or says, "Do we really know these people? Do we know what's going on inside their heads?" A real-life example of this on a real city street is the murder of John Lennon. There's that famous picture of Lennon signing Chapman's LP at about 4:30, 5 o'clock or so that December evening, and little did Lennon know, or anyone else who was also hanging out there, that Chapman had a pistol in his coat pocket at that same very time and was planning to shoot Lennon when he came back from the studio. The Chapmans, the Oswalds, and all these other people who go out into the public with a gun and their sick thoughts are taking advantage of humans' incapability of reading another person's mind, and that they are legally permitted to buy a gun because they have no record of violent behavior behind them. It's very scary. And that is why, this is exactly why, when Linnie Mae Randall saw Lee Oswald walking past the kitchen window that she was looking out of with a big paper bag, she had no reason to suspect it was a gun. And then when her brother, Buell Frazier, came out to give Lee a ride and saw the package in the back seat and also saw him carry it in to the depository, he had no reason to believe it was a gun. Lee, to him, was just an average Joe with a wife and 2 kids who needed a ride to work, and that was it. It's like Lee Oswald and all these other people who go out into the public with a gun and shoot people have complete freedom because nobody knows what's going on inside their head. And that is how Lee Oswald ended up at 12:30 p.m. on November 22nd, 1963, in the 6th floor window with a rifle. No conspiracy at all is needed. Have a nice day, folks.